Hey guys, we're back. So last time I kind of went through an introduction of what Python is, where to use it, how it's used, etc. We're going to jump right into doing some code. So I left off with creating a hello world replit. If you didn't catch that, please go back to the previous video called Intro to Python and take a look at the last part where I went into replit and then created a new replit called hello world and said that it was going to be a Python file. So that's why we have a main.py here. Your Python files can be called whatever as long as it has .py. Says not sure what to do, run some examples. Basically, this is Replit's way of getting you started off, just some example code, but I'm going to talk you through some of this anyway. So let me just increase the font size here so you can see a lot better. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to start off by going print hello, got to spell correctly, hello world. Okay, so you guys print that exactly and follow along. You can even pause this video, click run, and you should see the output over here, what should show up. Let me predict what should show up. You guys predict what should show up. What does this command do? Okay, we're going to hit run. It says hello world. What do you know? So basically, this is a print statement. A print command or statement basically allows you to output whatever you want the program to say. So you could get the program to tell somebody to buzz off or welcome people to this game or whatever. So you would actually use that command to do that, to output things. You don't have to output text like we did here, but you can output numbers. You can output variables, and we'll talk about variables later, but basically things that the program calculates, it can send it back out into the world to show the user what the calculation ends up being. So you can create like a temperature conversion program, let's say, and the user types in a number, the program does the calculation, the conversion, and then out comes the converted number. The person types in Fahrenheit and out comes Celsius. So you can build a program like that pretty easily. But this is what the utility of the print statement would be, to actually print out something into the world. And in this case, we printed out hello world, which is the traditional first programming command that people learn when they learn a programming language, in any language. So you see that in textbooks and tutorials and things like that. So you've done it. Hello world. Okay, so we're going to go and do something else. So I'm going to actually erase this line. So I'm going to select it, delete it, and I'm going to print something else. So if I print, we are in this together, and we are. What's your prediction for what that will do? I'm going to hit run. We are in this together. Yes, you're correct. I sound like Dora asking you a question, but basically I'm assuming that you're correct, that you said that we are in this together will actually be the output. And it gives you kind of, anytime you type something into Replit, it gives you all this help, or you might see it as help as when you start understanding what this means, but it basically says that these are the different commands you can enter into these brackets, and prints the values to a stream or to system.st standard out by default, etc., etc. So it's just trying to help you out. Okay, so let's print something else. I'm going to erase that, and let's try printing 3 plus 8. Make a prediction. What will this result in? I'm going to hit run. Oh, and it says 3 plus 8. So you can see it doesn't actually do the math. Let's try it a different way, though. Let's go print 3 plus 8, but without the quotes, what will happen? What do you think? 11. So you can see here that without the quotes, it will actually do the calculation because it recognizes this plus sign as you trying to add mathematically 3 and 8 together. Whereas if you had quotes around this, you're dealing with what's called a string. So what's in quotes is going to literally output for the user to see, and that's literally 3 plus 8. Without the quotes, it's not literal anymore. It's going to interpret that as doing some math, and then the output will be 11. Okay, so make sure you can see the difference between those two. Okay, so let's make a longer program. Now, when you're doing programming, you should always get into the habit of adding a comment. A comment is something like this, and you always start off with a number sign, or people like to call them hashtags nowadays, or pound symbols is what we used to call them. So a number sign or pound symbol is what I'm going to call it. You guys can call it whatever you want, but that indicates to Python that you're not going to type in a command here. This is plain English. So it's just basically it's a note to yourself or note to whoever you're trying to share this code with, so that when they get this huge bit of code, they're not going to go, "What does this mean?" It would take them a lot longer to figure out if you don't add comments. So I'm going to add comments in plain English. The following lines will do some calculations and print out to the user. Okay, so that's my comment. You can see it turns green, anything after the number sign. So I'm going to print 3 times 8. Okay, and the times is always asterisks. Print 10 divided by 2. Divide is always the forward slash. So when you're going from left to right, it leans forward. That's the forward slash. 10 divided by 2. Print 8 plus 1. Print 9 minus 10. Okay. Make your predictions as to what will happen here, and then hit run. Blah. Okay, so you see these all on separate lines because we made separate print statements. And these are all calculated. 3 times 8 is 24. 10 divided by 2 is 5.0. Print 8 plus 1 is 9. 9 minus 10, it even does integers, is -1. So that's how you can get it to do some math. All right. So the next thing I'm going to show you is concatenation. So concatenation is putting two things together, basically. Okay, so I'm going to erase this, and we're going to put two things together. So if I go print, my name is, and I put a plus sign, and then go Mr. Kung, this will concatenate or put those two strings together. These two are anything with quotes that literally gets outputted, those are called strings. So I'm going to hit run here, and you can see it says my name is Mr. Kung. Unfortunately, there is no space in between, and that is because you need to actually literally put a space in between. So either you're going to put a space here after is, or a space before Mr. Kung, and then when you run that, then you'll have a space, my name is Mr. Kung. Okay, so you can see the plus sign here. Python recognizes that it is not for adding numbers because it can actually dynamically figure out that you are putting two strings together. You're not putting two numbers together. So it can actually figure that out. Okay, so that's one of the things that gives it an advantage over other programming languages is its speed. You don't actually have to declare what kind of data, whether it's a number or text or whatever. It just figures it out. Where it does run into some trouble, though, is when you do something like this. You go print my name is, and then plus 25. Oh, and here's where we can start talking about debugging your code. Obviously, we've got an error here. Um, and you can see I always look at the last line first, and this is type error. That means the data type. There's something wrong with the data type. Can only concatenate string, not integer, to string. So this line number 2 is string to string. My name is a string. Mr. Kung is a string. But here it's saying you're trying to concatenate a string to an integer. You can't do that because it doesn't make any sense. So that's when you get into trouble, because it's trying its best to figure out what you're trying to do, whether to add it mathematically or to concatenate two strings together. Here you're mixing the two up and doesn't know what to do. Am I supposed to add 25 to my name is? That doesn't even make sense. Okay. So this is where it gives you some help, actually, because that really doesn't make any sense. If you really wanted to say, if your name was actually 25, it's like Elon Musk and Grimes would name their next kid 25, then you should put quotes around it. So put quotes around it, and then you are actually concatenating two strings together, which is fine. My name is 25. Okay. But you can't add the number 25, which is not literal, to a string. That just won't jive. Okay, that's it for this video. In the next video, we'll talk about variables and data types and the input statement.